Hey everyone, welcome to the 8th episode of the Terra Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Joseph from Casa Crypto. So this week I'll be covering the latest and greatest developments in the Terra ecosystem, spanning the time period of February 19th to February 25th. And so this week we've actually had some pretty bullish and just breaking news. I know everyone's really excited from the price action. Luna, if you aren't aware, has had a very, very bullish week. We were actually one of the, or if not the strongest performing crypto token in all of the crypto space. It was incredible to watch Luna perform the way that it did, despite the terrible situation that is going on in Ukraine. This week, I did not feel really comfortable to make my typical meme cover. So I just kind of wanted to focus on the great developments that are happening on here. So I just kind of provided a good little uplifting chart to show you the Luna Bitcoin relationship. But just want everyone to remind everyone that this is not financial advice and that this is bigger than everything that is going on. This is not bigger than what is going on out there in the real world. There are people right now that are in danger and massive danger. And it's terrible to know that they are having to go through this. And we are kind of in this little bubble and we're sheltered and we don't have to deal with those problems. My thoughts are with everyone in Ukraine, and I hope that they can keep their country. It's a really unfortunate situation, but let's go ahead and get into the news. Terra Money has announced probably the biggest uplift for the price action and the performance of the Terra ecosystem this week, and that is Redacted 3. So the Luna Foundation Guard has now established a floor, or essentially a floor price for all that is the Luna ecosystem, and they have purchased 1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and this establishes a 4x reserve, and that is going to be completely comprised of Bitcoin. And you can see that this was a purchase in conjunction with Jump Crypto, Three Arrows Capital, and then Defiance Capital, Republic Capital. There's several other groups, but this entire purchase is going to go to backing the UST peg. This is massive news, and this kind of gets rid of the death spiral narrative that if the what if situation that there is a bank run on UST. Like, what really happens if everyone goes to the market and starts selling and starts giving back their UST, driving the circulation higher? That is a potential situation, but with this backing of Bitcoin, it makes the death spiral narrative virtually moot, if not infinitesimally small of a chance. So this is huge news. This is massive uplift for the entire community. And it just kind of shows to a testament to the lengths and bounds of influence that Terra Money will have, and also just the true potential for UST to be a successful decentralized stablecoin. Next up, we'll be covering DeFi the conventional. This is kind of a little bit of smaller news, but it's pretty cool to see that these events are going on and that Terra Money is making efforts to keep them going and to have more overall real world engagement with Web3. So DeFi the conventional is going to be taking place March 20th from March 18th to March 20th in Ottawa, and it is going to be Canada's largest Web3 hackathon. And I think this is a great opportunity for Terra Money to just engage with more of real life people who are interested in coding, interested in learning DeFi, and I think this is a great opportunity for Terra to kind of just bridge that little gap. I mean, it's incredible that this is already the largest Web3 hackathon of Canada. So great, good on them for tapping into a new area for some potential talent. Next up, we're going to be talking about this O1 exchange listing. So O1 exchange is essentially just a Solana derivatives trading exchange, and this is where you can go long and kind of just do margin trading. Well, now it has been enabled to deposit Terra Money assets along with Solana assets, all via the Jump Trading's wormhole crypto. And the wormhole is now allowing people to deposit Luna and UST, and they can fund their accounts on O1 exchange and start trading margin. So great option for there if everyone who wants to go bet on the market. Next up, in massive news, I'm super excited for this one, and it is coming from Atlas Finance. So the Outlet Finance team has been teasing for the longest time their debit cards. They've been handing them out to a select few people in the community, but they are happy to announce that the debit card will be coming the first week of March. This is massive news for everyone who's trying to go bankless, for people that are trying to move away from the traditional form of payments. This is your chance to finally, at last, have a tangible way to spend your UST, to buy and purchase things with your yield, with your bank account. Essentially, you can deposit your checks into here, and you can fully live a decentralized currency lifestyle. I want to know everyone's favorite. If you guys are watching, like, please tell me which color is your favorite, because I really love that purple one. That purple one is so cool. So definitely excited for this. Keep an eye out, everyone. I'm definitely going to be ordering one of mine really soon. Not financial advice, though. Next up, in equally bullish news, I'm super excited for this because I'm kind of a film nerd, as one of the reasons why I started my YouTube career. But regardless, the Lunar Film Guild is essentially being sponsored by LFG. Do Kwon agreed to go on to an AMA this week. I'm not sure if he ended up doing that, but regardless, they are going to be the first ever, they're going to be hosting the first ever documentary on Terra. And there's going to be an interesting little dynamic and component there to engage the community and to bring community proponents to the film and to affect the film itself and participate in the creation of it. Because at the end of the day, the community is part of the Terra ecosystem history. And the Lunar Film Guild is going to tap into that by creating the LFG DAO. And it's going to incorporate having NFT holders. And if you're going to be a member of the LFG DAO, and depending on where you rank at, you can have more involvement in the actual documentary's creation. I remember a couple weeks ago, we all knew that 37th Degree had been kind of brought on to make this documentary, but it's good to see this actually coming to fruition, and this is kind of our indication that it's being developed. So super excited for that one. Next up is going to be Retrograde. So Retrograde has actually been super active in the community. I believe I have another article coming up on them, just kind of covering Ash Report. Regardless, Retrograde is kind of getting involved in a lot of tokenomic adjustments in the ecosystem, and specifically governance as well. In this case, in Anchor, it's specifically attacking the tokenomics, or I wouldn't say attacking, I really should say adjusting the tokenomics of the Anchor token. They're going to be introducing a more of an escrow model to governance and kind of realign the incentives to the token to start benefiting people that are holding Anchor instead of allowing it to kind of be range bound to consistently go up and down. So this thread specifically coming from Retrograde kind of gives a little bit more of a summary. They did have they had an AMA where people were allowed to go talk to them and kind of engage with them about their plans for governance on Anchor. And this tweet thread really encapsulates that entire space. So definitely check this out. An important thread to kind of stay aware of, because they're going to be handling the Anchor v2 model, and it's pretty important that we make sure as a community that Anchor Protocol is in good hands. So definitely go give this a look, give this a thought. Let's see what you guys think. If you guys are absolutely opposed to this, please put it in the comments. I want to learn. So yeah, so next up, we're going to be talking about something a little bit more speculative. This is kind of breaking news. So if you guys are just running out of places to put your money, which I highly doubt because I don't have enough money to put everywhere in the Terra ecosystem, Nebula Protocol has decided to launch their white paper. And Nebula Protocol is kind of an interesting little development. The best way that I can kind of describe it in short terms is a ETF crypto style area where you can make your own ETF, and instead of it being an ETF, it's called clusters. It's essentially where you can go and create these little vault areas where you can use it to rebalance and modify the mechanisms behind it, and each participant in the cluster gets a yield of it and gets to enjoy some of the arbitrage opportunities or any of the strategies that you want to make in your cluster. Very interesting concept. Definitely check this out for more information. Next up is going to be Cato Money. The Cato Money team has been absolutely shipping. So last week, we all know that they released their on-ramp. This week, they have released integration after integration. Their biggest one by far has been integrating with the Terra swap, with Terra Station as well. or just with Terra Station, it seems like. I might be mistaken on the Terra swap. But directly from Terra Station, you can now use the Cato ramp to purchase UST. Never before has it been this easier to get into the Terra ecosystem, and not only Terra, but to also to get into everything else. You can use Wormhole. You're just one step away from getting to Solana, from getting to Ethereum, to getting to any chain that you want. The possibilities are endless. This is massive innovation here. Excited to keep seeing the Cato team shipping like this. Next up, we're going to be covering Kojira. This is yet another partnership that Cato Money has developed. You can now directly go into Kuji and purchase or swap your UST for some Kuji. And if you don't have UST in your wallet, you can conveniently use the Cato ramp to swap for some Kuji tokens. So again, Cato Money trying to make everyone's lives easier. Next up, actually, we're going to cover another one from Kuji that was out of order. So this one's going to be Kuji's introduction of their SKuji token, which is essentially their stake token and their remodeling of staking on their platform. This is a pretty impactful change. They will now start redirecting essentially protocol revenues to people that are staking Kuji. And so anyone, any action or any token that goes through Orca, Beluga, or any future Kojira app. So we're talking liquidation events like Ethereum, liquidation events from Luna, any of those Apex assets that go through their protocol and go through their systems. As Kuji, people will start getting rewards, will start getting portions of that. So definitely a bullish switch here if you're staking Kuji, and if you're a fan of the protocol, a very good development to stay in tune with. Definitely check out what's going on here. Next up is going to be Atla Protocol. Atla Protocol has been excitingly launching, and this week they haven't slowed down. Mint DAO went and passed, and they actually launched. Their entire allocation for Mint tokens was actually sold out. So I'm really intrigued to see that they are actually getting so much more engagement than I was expecting. It seems to be like they are actually kind of just growing, and it's cool to see the next generation of Terra projects kind of launch. Next up, we have Fan Fury Official. They're up for proposal, so they haven't technically launched on Atla. So if you're staking Atla, go vote, go participate, and go ensure that you're receiving your Atla incentives. Next up is going to be Mars Protocol. Mars Protocol has been going through their lock drop phase. It's gone smoothly. I believe at the time of recording, we are 14 hours away from the lock drop phase closing. So if you want to participate in that, definitely go check that out. The most important thing that I came across this week was their announcement of two protocols going after their contract-to-contract, their smart contract leveraging capabilities that they will be launching with the Field of Mars. And this is a super important ability for some protocols to do. Some very mind-bending strategies can happen here. As far as I know, smart contract to smart contract lending is not a reality in the majority of DeFi. So this is a massive, just a copious amount of innovation. And so Alpha Finance Lab and Spectrum Protocol. You guys know that I'm a fan of Spectrum. So they have also kind of thrown their hat into the ring to see if they can use the contract-to-contract lending. Definitely go check this out. Down here in the Medium article, both protocols kind of detail out their visions, their goals, and their intentions behind applying for this. So the Martian Council will be able to vote and deem these protocols worthy of using the contracts. So definitely important if you are worried about the future of Mars, and intriguing to see Spectrum Protocol coming up here and working with a Delphi Digital backed protocol with a Terraform Labs involved protocol. It kind of gives a little bit of a testament to the trustworthiness of Spectrum Protocol, not financial advice. Next up, we're going to be talking about Apollo DAO. Apollo DAO is they had to oblige by their voting, and so they have deposited 1 million UST into the Mars Protocol lock drop, and they have locked it for 18 months. And the vast majority of people seem to be locking their UST into the lock drop for 18 months. This is a very future-oriented decision, very impactful if you are a Apollo DAO holder. So definitely check out that news. Next up is going to be Prism. Prism has launched their AMP system, which is essentially just their way of enhancing people that already have Y Luna yielding. So essentially you would commit and pledge your X Prism, and you would start earning AMP, and the AMP will start amplifying your yield on your Y Luna. It's very convoluted. It's a very interesting little mechanism. I'm sure this has never been seen before, but then again, Prism is doing something that we've never seen before. So definitely give this a look. If this has been seen before on a different protocol, I'd be interested to learn which one. If you do know, please listen in the comments. I haven't heard or been familiar with something that works this way. Legimi has been a beast this week, providing all of the information and all of the necessary calculations for expected ROI for anything that you're doing on this front. Next up is going to be Stator. Interestingly enough, you can now double dip for some Stator and Loop rewards. The Luna X and Luna LP has gone live on the Loop Finance DEX, and for a limited time until the end of February, you will be able to not only yield your SC tokens from that pool, but you will also be yielding your Loop rewards in addition. So it's just kind of for those humble farmers out there to kind of go get some humble stacks here. Next up, we're going to be covering some quick news until we get into the community chads this week. And so Pylon Protocol, they had to oblige with their governance proposal number 7, and they've implemented a 14-day unstaking period. This will probably help alleviate some of the sell-off pressure that the Pylon token has been seeing, and apparently it's going to prevent from people from gaming the system on the Pylon gateway. I'm not entirely sure how that people are gaming it, but it seems like people were repeatedly unstaking and staking just to participate in gateway events. So this is going to kind of get rid of that ability and kind of encourage more Pylon token holding and sitting. Next up is going to be White Whale. White Whale had to go through their governance poll and Governance Poll 2, which essentially committed $2.5 million worth of Luna, and they purchased that, and that is a massive amount of Luna. If you open up their proposal, you will be able to see that this is an equivalent amount of 48,000 Luna, and this represents 10% treasury and 40% of their formerly available liquid capital. So huge amount of purchase there. Highly expect this to go to use somewhere. Next up is going to be covering Retrograde again. Earlier I mentioned that they're kind of heavily involved. Seems like they're also dipping their toes into Astroport, and they're going to be supporting their governance and kind of guiding the direction that they go with the governance proposals there. So very interesting little partnerships that are going on. Retrograde is very active. Going to definitely keep an eye on them. So let's go ahead and touch on the chads of the community this week. So the chad number 1 goes to Dr. Rudd, or just Murray, whatever you prefer. But Murray has released his absolute chad level financial modeling of Luna and UST price relationship. He goes into expert level data analysis here. He uses thanks to this account, 21K, they are using some pullback functional form to eliminate the initial issue of Luna supply going to infinity or going to 0. And there are just massive amounts of complications when it comes to figuring out a relative relationship between the price of Luna and the burning and the minting and the market cap of UST. So highly complicated concept, and Murray has provided the community and everyone the tools and the information to kind of digest and to create their own investment thesis here. So thoroughly recommend you guys following Murray. Incredible financial modeling right here. Next up, we're going to be talking about Prism Watcher. So Prism Watcher has been an interesting guy account to crop up lately. And Prism Watcher comes at the perfect timing for the market, with Prism kind of ramping up and getting on with their refraction assets. Prism Watcher is developing some really cool threads, just kind of breaking down what they believe is the superior, or what is the situation with the refraction. And regardless of the camp that you're on, if Y Luna is better or P Luna is better, Prism Watcher is going to give you an absolutely unadulterated view of what is the correct take on this. And they kind of give you a very in-depth breakdown of why they believe what they believe. And this one kind of just details a little bit onto why P Luna is being undervalued and that it should be a little bit higher. They're not claiming that Y Luna is more valuable or P Luna is more valuable, but they're just saying, or they are claiming Y Luna is inherently more valuable. They're just saying that P Luna is slightly undervalued right now. So definitely an interesting thread. Definitely give Prism Watcher a follow. And yeah, so that's going to cover this week's news. Sorry for taking so long, but there is just so much to go on, and there's just a lot of explaining that kind of had to happen for several of these news. They're very in depth. So Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around this long. If you haven't already, please like the video, please comment, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm, helps me grow. Lately, I've been not attaching the Twitter thread to or the link to this video to the Twitter thread, and that's kind of inhibited my growth on YouTube a little bit to an extent, but the threads are still performing well. Regardless, I'm still going to keep doing these videos. I'm super excited to keep giving you guys these roundups. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.